Welcome back to Second Breakfast. Today I am on a roll. I am so excited for this episode. This episode has been a year in the making. I have been thinking about, really a lifetime in the making. I've been thinking about this so much. I've been prepping. I've been so excited to talk about this. Today, my friends, we are talking about Hogwarts Legacy 1 year later. If you don't know, Hogwarts Legacy is a game that came out in February of 2023. Sorry, for a minute I was like, what year are we living in right now? I am so excited to talk about it for a number of reasons. So on this podcast, we talk about fantasy, we talk about books, movies, TV shows, we're increasingly talking more about games. Part of that is because I, Maggie, am getting much more into gaming than I ever have been in my whole life. Cam's always played games, right? But it was often hard for us to talk about games together because I had played like 2 games. And so, but I'm getting more into them now. And this game is the reason why. So let me give you a little bit of context. If you listen to our God of War episode, I talk about this too, but maybe you didn't. I don't know what kind of audience is going to get crossover here.
Or 52 Diablo 4 episodes.
Right. But if you don't know, I'm somebody who grew up not playing games. I didn't have them growing up, and I really didn't, apart from playing, the original Super Mario on the original Nintendo system, occasionally at my grandparents' house when I was a kid, I never played anything with a joystick, no triggers, nothing. I didn't hold an Xbox controller till I was 22, all right? So, this was, for a long time, I felt really like games were not for me, and I felt like I didn't even know where to begin to get into games. That all changed with Hogwarts Legacy. Okay. Before Hogwarts Legacy, in between Hogwarts Legacy when I was 29 and when I was 22, I had played things like anything that was a side scroller, right? I'd also played things like Diablo 3 and 4. It's like isometric view where you don't have to aim and you don't have to control the camera, and it's pretty easy to navigate. But I, for so long, just felt like what I like to call 3-dimensional games were not for me, because it was just, I didn't have the muscle memory down. It was confusing. It was disorienting. I would get seasick. I couldn't get the handle on it. And this game just opened that up for me. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we even get into that, I just want to talk about how amazing this game is. Cam, you've played this game too, right?
Yes, I have.
Cam and I have both.
Fully.
Yeah, Cam and I have both completely played through the whole game. I've played through it almost twice. At this point, I've probably put in almost 100 hours of this game.
And we both did an incredible amount of the side content.
Yes. I did almost, in my first playthrough, I think I did 95% of the side content. I gave it my all.
Almost all the collectibles.
I remember when it came out, we bought it right when it came out because I had been really, really looking forward to this. And even though I knew what kind of game it was, I was like, it's going to be tough, but I want to give it a try. It looks beautiful. And I remember when we first got it, I think I spent a full weekend doing nothing but playing this game. Apart from eating and sleeping, this is all I did. And I don't normally do that with games, and it was so much fun. So first, I think I want to talk about this game sort of as a Harry Potter property compared to other things, because, apart from the Harry Potter books and movies, there have been a ton of things that have come out that are about or surrounded by or connected to the Harry Potter universe. You think of things like Fantastic Beasts, right? Or the Cursed Child play -- book.
I try not to.
Truly cursed. Or even the theme parks, right? We did a couple episodes. We did episodes on all the Fantastic Beasts movies, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did. And those movies we enjoy, but we talk about, our challenges with those movies, the things that we like and don't like, and the things where we feel like it sort of falls. And I think what works so beautifully about Hogwarts Legacy as a Harry Potter story property is that it is separate enough from the Harry Potter world that it doesn't feel like it's trying too hard. Cursed Child is a direct sequel to Harry Potter, and it's a disaster in all kinds of ways. I can't even talk about it. Fantastic Beasts movies are great. The story is interesting, but it is still pretty connected to Harry Potter, and it's really trying to make those connections because it's oh, remember Dumbledore? Remember him?
It's increasingly connected.
Yes, right. And it feels disingenuous to the Harry Potter story. The Harry Potter story as itself, those 7 books, it is so wonderfully complete that anything that is trying to add to it feels wrong, and it feels just like a money grab, honestly. And Hogwarts Legacy takes place 100 years before the Harry Potter story. It takes place in the 1890s. So Tom Riddle is not born yet. Obviously, Harry Potter is not born yet. Dumbledore is 9, so he's not doing anything. He's not even at Hogwarts, so there's no risk of running into Dumbledore at Hogwarts. Although that would be fun. But anyway,
in the third game, he would be a first year.
Oh my God, he would. That's true. Huh. Well, actually, now I'm whatever. Anyway, and so like,
don't worry, it's definitely getting a sequel.
Yeah, but so it's not like trying to connect to the Harry Potter story in that way. It just takes place in the world, and there are little Easter eggs here and there that sort of like wave at you. Like Professor Weasley is obviously some great grand ancestor of the Weasleys. You got Phineas Nigellus Black as the headmaster, who is a relative, like a great grandfather of Sirius Black.
He's in the portrait.
He's in that. Yeah, he's the guy in the portrait. And then you've got goblin wizard tensions that are happening that is like canonically part of like wizarding history, but it's not so overt or so connected that it feels retconned in the way that a lot of Fantastic Beasts stuff does, or the way that Cursed Child certainly does. And so I really appreciated that. And it's hard to compare it to something like the theme parks, because those are it's such a totally different kind of experience, and that's more like an extension of the existing Harry Potter story in the way to make you feel like you're just like part of the movie, and that's a really special thing that you can't really match or achieve anywhere else. So it's like not even fair or relevant to compare those two. I've been to the theme park and it's so amazing. I think the only thing that's better than, like, apart from reading the books, the only thing better than playing this game is going to the theme parks, like, obviously. But
yeah, but you can't fly on a broom around Hogwarts at the theme park.
You can on one of the rides.
You can do it forever and land wherever you want in the game.
Exactly. So it's just totally different. So really what this game provides is the opportunity to be in the world, be a student at Hogwarts, explore the castle, cast spells, and then engage in the parts of the world that interest you specifically. Like, that's something that is really special about this. Like, if you are like big into herbology, you can go nuts and grow all kinds of plants, but you don't really have to, except for like 1 or 2 quests. If you love potions, you can source all kinds of ingredients and brew all kinds of potions and use them in combat or for fun. But again, you don't have to, except for a couple quests. Are you really into animals? You can go on Poppy Sweeting's side quest. You can capture all the creatures, Newt Scamander style, and take care of them in your, case full of animal environments. Do you want to like be an amazing flyer on a broom? You can like get all the upgrades and beat all the flying courses as many times as you like. Spoiler, I didn't do that because I still can't fly, but that's different. I had a hard time mastering the flying mechanics, but we'll get there. Do you want to just like explore Hogsmeade? You can literally go there any time of day and spend hours and hours and hours exploring the village of Hogsmeade. Do you want to go into the Forbidden Forest? You can go nuts in there and just kill some spiders and discover all kinds of creepy stuff.
Are you a big fan of curling? You can visit the Summoner's Court.
Yes, you can do the Summoner's Court, exactly. Or you can just like, do you just want to like explore the castle and just learn about the lore of Hogwarts? You can do that for hours. Like, this game has so much to offer for so many kinds of Harry Potter fans, not to mention so many kinds of gamers. Like, this game, what I like want to end, like what I want to, my conclusion that I want to come to by the end of this episode is that this game is truly for everybody, and that is so fantastic. I do want to take a minute to talk about the story, because especially our God of War episode was so much about story and how much I loved the story and how I wish that all games were that story focused. The story here is fine.
But before you get deep into the story,
sure.
I like that you laid out the environment you get to hit there. Being in Hogwarts and Hogsmeade and walking through these locations and getting to see all the sides. I mean, it's like the dark side of the moon. You get to see all the other alleys in Hogsmeade. You get to see all the parts in Hogwarts that aren't relevant to Harry's story.
Right.
That you can now go through. But every little detail in those rooms, you can interact with so many little bits and bobs that don't advance the story or give you an upgrade, or they're just parts. They're tiny little flourishes that make the world feel alive.
Yes.
It is such. The lighting engine is incredible.
Yeah.
The way the light comes through the windows, the stained glass. There's like dust in the air sometimes. The way the libraries feel, the way the castle and the grounds, the locations and the ones that you didn't, but feel so at home as an extension of what you know. This is an unbelievably beautifully, fully realized version of this mythology.
Yes, absolutely. There are so many hidden, like not even hidden, just there details and like little puzzles to things and little things to interact with that like it rewards somebody who wants to be steeped in this world so wonderfully.
Can we mention the field guide here, or is that later?
That's later.
Okay.
I'm going to get into gameplay in a few
all right.
minutes. I was just sort of giving an overview.
Sure.
Because again, like thinking back to like this is a Harry Potter property. If we think about the story is fine. Like it has that Harry Potter flavor where it's full of mystery and discovering like hidden wizarding world lore and defeating dark wizards and stuff like that. But it is not at all trying to connect to or mess with or tie in the Harry Potter story. Like there's nothing in there about Voldemort, obviously, because he's not even born yet. There's nothing in there about Horcruxes or like, there's not even anything in there about like the Muggle-born like pure blood conflict either. It's not trying to get into any of that. It is really just like it's about this like ancient magic thing that doesn't even come up in the Harry Potter story, but it feels like it totally belongs there, and it feels like yes, this could totally be part of the Wizarding World canon, and it works. And so like the story like works as far as it like is it a compelling story in itself? It's fine. I thought it was fine.
It is compelling in that I always wanted to know what happened next, and nothing that happened felt like it broke my immersion or understanding of the franchise.
Yeah, no, I never like resented the story progressing. I was always like, okay, cool, I get to do more stuff. But the story was, I think, maybe the least important part of this game for me, but it wasn't a bad thing.
It was worse than any of the books, but it was better than any of the other licensed properties that Harry Potter's name has been stuck onto.
Yes, you're totally right. Yeah.
The teachers, great. The companion characters, the villains, Ranrock and some of the bad wizards. What are they called? The that group of dueling
Ashwinders.
Whatever. Yeah. All of that was interesting and fun, and I liked getting to know those not founders, those big four characters.
Yeah, those old headmasters. Yeah.
All of that was rich and compelling.
It was,
so I would give props to this story. It's worse than all of the books, but it's much better than it had to be.
That's true. And I did like the way it ties into Sebastian's story. That bit was the most fun for me.
I completely forgot about that part of the story. That part's fantastic.
Yeah, I forgot. That part is really, really great.
This is a good story,
okay, fine. It's a good story. It's a good story. It's really fun. It's just when I think about this game, I don't think about the story. I think about all the other stuff I'm about to talk about. Yeah. But yeah, the story is great. Like, but it's like it's there enough that it feels important and it's interesting, but it's also not. It doesn't dominate the rest of the game. There's plenty of time and space to explore and do side quests and play around and have fun, which is why this game is so rich and full. So let's talk about the gameplay and why this worked for me. Well, I guess we'll get more into why it worked for me, but quickly, the gameplay, like, first of all, there are multiple difficulty levels, and it's not just like easy, normal, hard. There's story, easy, normal, hard. I played story mode on my first playthrough, which is the easiest difficulty level, and it meant that I was never once worried about combat. I was just having a good time. Is that what you did, or did you start on easy? I think you started on easy.
I don't remember at this point.
Okay. Well, it was great. I loved that.
It was one of those two settings.
And I will say that getting the hang of the camera movement was really tough for me at the beginning, because again, I had never, except for playing, I think to prepare for this game, I'm remembering now, you and I played like the first level of Gears of War together. And that was helpful for me because we were playing co-op, so you were able to help me and I wasn't alone. And we played on like an easy difficulty. And so I got a little bit the hang of moving the camera, but even when I first started playing this game, I was a little turned around and I got a little confused, but the game was very forgiving in that sense, and it gives you plenty of time to get yourself adjusted. But I got the hang of that, and that was fine. And like as the game went through, I got more and more comfortable with it. And I'll talk more about sort of that piece a little bit later. The combat system, I loved the combat system. It felt very intuitive. You titled it a lock-on range third-person combat, right? Which is basically where you are sort of shooting something like a spell from far away, and it locks on to your target. And that means you don't have to aim which is huge for me because I can't aim in real life or in games. And so that was really, really huge for me. And I liked the way you do the spells. So if you haven't played in a while, or if you haven't played at all, you hold down your right trigger and then you select from your A, B, X, or Y to cast different spells. And that just makes total sense to me. It's really, really simple. And also they're listed there right on the screen for you. So if you forget, they are right there.
Little icons.
They're little icons. Yeah. You have to remember what the icon means, but it's pretty obvious. And they're like color coded, like scary, mean combat spells are red.
Fire.
Utility spells are yellow. And then boring ones are blue. And then conjuring are green. So like it's really easy to visualize and do. And even then, like beyond that, when you block, you hit, you don't hold down the trigger, but you hit Y to block. And it prompts you to do that. And if you do it the right way, it then turns into you doing stupefy, which stuns your enemies. And then also it'll prompt you at certain points in combat to use your ancient magic using your left and right bumpers.
Which is on a cooldown, right?
Yeah, right. But again, it prompts you and it comes on the screen so you don't have to remember it. It's really, really great. And so that was all really intuitive in the way that your character moves around. And it also just felt really good. Like
it does.
Because like even if you don't want to cast a normal spell, just like your general like just casting is just your right trigger, and that feels right because it's like in my head your right trigger is like a shooty spell, like in Diablo that's your ranged second attack, right?
Yeah.
So that it felt right, it felt good, and I like the way you like raise your characters in the air and hit them with spells. Like that all just felt really fun and good.
Magic is incredibly difficult to do in games like this. I remember because I played back when they were licensing Harry Potter games as the movies were coming out. Mm-hmm. I had on Game Boy. I had them all the way back through there. And I remember the Goblet of Fire one was horrible. But the original PC ones for the first 3 games were legendary. Some of the best games ever made. There were rooms full of Birdie Bot beans. And you'd have like a minute to run around and get as many beans as you could. And that would be like bonus points.
Cute.
Those games are fantastic. But this one handles so well.
Yeah.
Magic is a tough thing. One of the Harry Potter games, I think it was Deathly Hallows Part 1, they basically just made it like a third-person shooter.
Oh, okay.
So there was like a spell that basically worked like a machine gun.
Oh, jeez.
Where it just fired a bunch of blasts.
Oh.
And another one that was more like shotgunny. Anyway, that
dumb.
obviously doesn't work.
That doesn't work at all.
That feels weird and wrong. But the fact that the spells seek to the target, that
yes.
you don't really have to aim, which means you can't really miss.
Right. So instead, you're just thinking about what spells am I going to cast? Sorry. And not where am I going to put it?
It refocuses your attention.
Yeah.
And like you said, the way you controlled some of these variables, you weren't concerned about dying. You weren't concerned about aiming or the camera.
Right.
So what you do get to do is be creative with spells.
Yes.
And that's what you want to do.
Right, exactly.
And all of that looks and feels fantastic. The effect of it is cool. The animations are cool. Mm-hmm. It knows what you want out of the experience, and clearly a lot of the dev time was spent on making that as engaging and satisfying as possible. When you do the Protego thing, mm-hmm. and it's basically you're blocking whatever incoming spell, it's telling you like, quick, hit the button and it'll block it. Uh-huh. You hold that and then you throw a counterattack back at them.
Yeah.
There's a fantastic loop to that.
Yes, and your character says the names of the spells every time, which is like canonically what happens. That's how the magic works. That's how the magic works in Harry Potter. You have to say the spell in order to do it, unless you get really good at nonverbal spells. But of course, you don't do that till 6th year, and your character is a 5th year.
That was for Sam. That little shout out.
Flip it. Cam told me all about flip it.
And you could interrupt it while you flip it. Stop it. And the animation was just this like young Harry with a giant head just like whipping his arm.
This is like one of the original games, right?
Like he was so blocky and bricky in the bad graphics, and it was like he was trying to lasso a house elf. Flip. I love those games so
That's
much.
so funny to me. But yeah, and what's also great about the combat is that it's incredibly customizable, because basically you have little spell sets where you can only have 4 spells at a time. And as you go through the game, you unlock more and more spell sets, and you learn more and more spells as the game goes on. Very slowly also, which is great for learning, which I appreciated. And so what I ended up having was, I had one spell set that was like all red, and that was for combat. I had a spell set that was like utility spells like Lumos and like Disillusion disillusionment and, Leviosa, that kind of thing. And then I had one for, conjuring and vanishing and stuff like that. Although I always had Accio as my X.
Okay.
Because I wanted to always be able to grab those pages no matter what spell set I was on. Because you got to react quick to get those.
I thought you were going to say in every single palette of spells, you always had the
Crucio?
ones where you could feed the animals.
No, I did. Yeah, I also had a spell set for the animals, but no, I didn't always have that function on because I didn't always
where
need it.
you can brush them and feed them.
I gotta tell you, I loved being able to brush and feed those animals.
You dumped into that system.
God, it was so fun. I loved it. That really fed my soul. But no, like you could have any spell that you've learned, you can very easily put into your like spell slots and activate. There's other games where like Baldur's Gate 3, for example, is something I'm playing right now. And if you're any kind of magic caster, like a wizard, a warlock, a sorcerer, whatever, you have spells. And it's like a whole thing to change the spells you have. You can only do it at certain points when you're leveling up and all kinds of other bullshit. This is just like, I know the spells, I can easily put them in my spell slots, boom, done. It was very, very simple to get to, and I really liked that. I also liked that spells outside of combat, like Revelio, Alohomora, Alohomora, and stuff like that. Like that is like accessible through other buttons on your controller. So like Revelio, I think, is always left on the D-pad, and doing Petrificus Totalis only becomes an option when you're invisible behind somebody. Same with like Alohomora is when you're right at a lock, right?
You're never stuck fiddling to go through 12 menus to find the spell you need.
No, it's very simple, and it all felt very easy and intuitive and simple to get to. So I really liked the combat and the way that the spells worked and the way that a lot of the spells are like a normal part of your interaction with the world, because that's what you would do as a wizard. You wouldn't only cast spells when you're fighting somebody to the death. Like you use Revelio all the time, like that kind of thing. So I really liked that.
You're also 15.
Right. Although this game doesn't really seem to care that you're a child for a lot of it, but that's also like the nature of the Harry Potter stories, that there's, children are fighting the war.
I just mean that in universe, most people aren't fighting to the death.
Well, exactly.
So it would make sense to have more practical spells.
Yes, right. The inventory was really fun and easy to navigate. So easy to navigate.
Shout out to our Starfield episode.
Yeah, right.
If you want to hear the other side of that coin.
God, like so easy, just easy categories. You could tell what you had. And I loved that you could change the appearance just by acquiring an item and like unlocking the look. And then even if you get rid of that item, like you sell it, you drop it, whatever, you still have that look, and you can very easily go in and change the appearance of your gear. Like that's so simple and smooth. Like they so could have been like, if you want to change your outfit, go down to Madame Malkin's and have her change your robe to blue, blah, 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 blah.
Or
and
make
like,
it a microtransaction.
Right. And I would never have bothered. So I would have gone around looking like a weirdo for, all the time. And instead I was able to just quickly change my look. And I did that all the time throughout the game. Either like I unlocked a cool new robe and I wanted to wear it, or like the seasons changed throughout the game. So like I was like, oh, it's winter, I'm going to put on like a winter scarf or like more wintry looking clothes. And like,
do you wish that the game required you to put on like heavier clothes during the winter?
No.
Because there are like simulation elements. I remember the jump from the first to the second Red Dead. The second one had more of those elements where you would have to bundle up in the cold parts, or you would have to like drink and eat. And feed your horse. Yeah, and there would be a little bar for that.
I'm glad I didn't have to do any of that. That's really, okay, I find that kind of thing really annoying. I understand some people love it for immersion purposes. I don't like that.
You're maintaining fake crops in Stardew Valley. I don't know what is entertaining for you.
But that's like different. The point of that game is to maintain and grow your crops. The point of Hogwarts Legacy is not to feed yourself.
You were worried that the chicken was mad at you.
That's a totally different thing.
But that's engaging for you.
Yes,
when it told you the chicken is mad because you forgot to put it in the coop last night.
Do you know the guilt? Do you know the guilt I felt? The guilt that I felt when I locked Willow out of her coop, and she was so angry because I went into my coop the next morning and I was like, I have 2 chickens, but there's only one in here. Where's my other chicken?
Have you reconciled?
Yes. Okay. But see, like that is the same reason I love interacting with the creatures in Hogwarts Legacy. Like it's that interaction. It's not like
because they don't say anything when you lock them out.
No, because they have little hearts come up when I pet them. Like that's what I'm talking about. But like anyway, the point is like that I don't like you can advance from day to night in Hogwarts Legacy, but you don't like have to take a rest. You know, you don't have to feed yourself. You don't have to, like, if your health is low, you need to regenerate it, but it's not crazy like that. And I admired that. And like the good thing about all of this stuff is that you can ignore it. Like if you don't care about like having a cool outfit, you don't have to mess with it. If you do, then it's very easy to do. But if you don't care, you don't have to do it. Same with like upgrading your broom and like crafting potions and stuff.
Or the animals.
Right. Yeah. You can engage in that or you don't have to.
Or the dueling. Or the
the dueling club, all that kind of stuff. Or
flying.
Right, yeah. Yeah, let's talk about the flying. The flying, that was the hardest part for me, was getting down the mechanics of the broom. I'm just not good at flying in any games. I'm really bad at it.
More than anything else, that is an activity where you have to navigate three-dimensional space.
Right, yeah, and just I found it to be really, really challenging. I got it down enough that I could use it for traveling, and that was really helpful. It's when I had to do the races that I struggled.
If you're watching the episode on YouTube, this is Maggie's gameplay running in the background. And
yes.
I think you'll see that she very much got the hang of flying.
Is there any footage of me doing one of those races? I sure hope to God
there
isn't.
I don't think so.
I really struggled. That was like the only hard part.
As a form of navigation.
Sure.
You seem very comfortable on the broom.
Yeah, but I liked that you could fly on a broom. That seems essential to this world. And I really liked that it was helpful for when you wanted to travel far distances, but you hadn't unlocked the fast travel yet.
I felt like that was one of the most fantastical parts of the game for me. And I mean that for sort of if I could create a Harry Potter sandbox to play in, that would be a big part of it. And I think maybe bringing it back to the Starfield joke that I made before, the big complaint and immersion breaker everyone has about that game is that everything is interrupted with loading times.
Yes.
Nothing is seamless.
Right.
The fact that I can run around the forest and if I get sick of that or a big spider jumps out, I can jump on my broom at any time, or a hippogriff, or any other big animal that I've unlocked.
Yeah.
And like zoom into the clouds.
Oh, so
and
cool.
Fly around and just hop off the broom on a beautiful bridge in Hogwarts and then run around the castle that was my childhood.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular.
You can do all that seamlessly.
Yes.
With no loading, with no waiting, with no warning. You can just experience this world and express any of those desires. It's
so cool.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it feels as easy as imagining those things does. And isn't that the highest compliment you can pay a game world that you grew up in?
Well, right, yeah.
It's giving you that experience finally.
Absolutely. The only time there's a loading screen is if you're fast traveling. But if you don't want to fast travel, you can travel from one end of the map to the other and never see a loading screen. And the map is huge, by the way. I haven't even mentioned this. If you haven't played the game, the map isn't just Hogwarts and Hogsmeade. It is this like entire... Like, it's basically all of Scotland. Like, you're all throughout the Highlands. There are, like, miles and miles of villages and little, like, places to explore, and caves and forests and mountains and all kinds of things to explore. And, again, you can go from one end to the other and never see a loading screen. And it's so, so cool.
You can really wander. The reason I said that before, everything does feel optional here. Even the way the story works. The story feels sort of optional because, like I said, It was worse than all the books. It is, but it's also not, it doesn't have the same objective as a story.
And it's not as like, it's not as urgent. It's not like sometimes there are little things that have a bit of urgency to them. For the most part, it's like you don't feel any like strong, compelling reason to jump back into the story because there's not like imminent danger. Do you know what I mean? Like there's plenty of time and space to explore and have fun in between story beats.
Sure.
And I really appreciated that. When the story matters, when there is something timely, you can't explore the open world. You kind of have to keep going in the story, and that works and makes sense.
The story pushes you towards the gameplay. The story is completely in service of gameplay.
Yes, and like especially at the very beginning, a lot of your like quests are like to go to class and like learn spells. Like it's not just like here's story happening with Professor Fig and stuff, and then also if you feel like it, learn how to cast Depulso. It's integrated in the quest line. You cannot progress in the story until you've gone to Charms class and learned Depulso. Like it's that kind of thing.
But every time I burned myself out wandering or finding 100 of whatever collectible I was interested in or hyperfixating on,
right?
Every time I then pivoted back to the main quest, I was interested in what I was doing.
Yes.
Like, I think it is a tough balance to make a main story feel urgent, to make that quest feel exciting, but also to have it not totally break the immersion in the story that you can go fuck off for 10 hours and do whatever you want in Hogsmeade.
Right, yeah.
They nailed that balance, I think, as well as you can.
They did. And like it became like, once you've sort of like, you know, put a few hours into the game and you're into the story and you've unlocked a lot of the main things, you've discovered the castle and Hogsmeade and stuff, like it becomes sort of a game that has many options. You can be like locked in, headphones on, like full sound of the game is on, you're listening to every piece of dialogue, you're fully immersed. Or it can become, if you want, a podcast game where you are not listening to the game, you're listening to a YouTube video or a podcast or an audiobook or whatever, and you're just kind of vaguely bopping around the castle and like looking for demiguise statues and that kind of thing. Like, it can be casual or it can be really, really immersive, and it is really fun either way. And that's really, really cool. I really appreciated that.
It's tough to build a game that works both ways.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and there are so many things that encourage the open world exploration. I was really nervous about this game being open world because in my like limited experience / just what I understood about open worlds, I was really intimidated by that because I hate the feeling of not knowing what I'm supposed to do. Like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I don't know what I'm supposed to find. I don't know what order I'm supposed to do things in. And this game just carries you through so easily. And there are things that are ongoing, like getting all the Daedalian keys and finding all the demiguises and, you know, looking for hidden chests, collecting the book pages, you know, solving the little puzzles throughout the castle that are so fun to interact with, but it's so clear that you can do them anytime. Like, it's so abundantly obvious that this, you know, little secret doorway is always going to be here. And if I don't know how to solve this puzzle right now, or I don't feel like solving it, I can come back to it and it'll still be there. And so but then it also like rewards like, oh, if I explore more, I'll find more of those hidden doorways with hidden chests and stuff. And so I'm going to keep exploring. Or if there are things that I know are meant to be found later, like this is a level 2 unlock and you don't have level 2 unlocked, and you know that because it's red. You know that I can come back to it later. So it's very clear what's supposed to happen when, or what is not like order dependent. And like that was really, really helpful for me.
For a story that is so much about combat that can feel pretty intense, it's an incredibly cozy game.
Yes.
Where the stakes aren't crazy. You don't feel like you're letting anyone down. There isn't an invisible timer on what you're doing.
No, exactly. Like sometimes you're killing a troll or sometimes you're petting a cat.
Right.
And both of those feel as important and fun and valuable. So I think, yeah, now is a good time to talk about sort of the accessibility / approachability component of this game and why it works so well for me as somebody at the gaming level that I was at when I started this game. I'm going to talk about, I use the word accessibility a lot. And what I mean by that is more like just the general term and like approachability. This game is also really great for like having accessibility features for people who need or want them, who have different abilities. I'm more talking about accessibility in the sense of like, it was good for a person who hadn't played a lot of games. That's really what I'm going to be focusing on. And just like how modifiable the game was to fit your gaming style and abilities. So, you know, as fun as everything was that I just listed out, I would not have been able to even like start this game and enjoy it as much as I did without all the features that it has. Of course, the difficulty level is really, really great. I like that they call like that there's one below easy, because often I'll play a game, you know, I'll start a game and I'm like, oh yeah, easy level. And I'm like, oh, this is still too hard. And I liked that there was one called story mode where you're just enjoy the story. And that's really what I did. And on my second playthrough, I moved up to easy. And I did notice a slight change in difficulty with the combat, but by then I was so used to the combat that it was fine. So I liked that. I mean, this was really the first game that truly felt like it welcomed players regardless of their prior gaming experience or gaming style. At least the first game that I've played that felt like that. Again, you know, it took me a minute to get the hang of the camera, but I never felt like I had to rush into getting the hang of it because nothing felt super urgent or timely or like somebody was waiting on me. And I really, really appreciated that. I gotta say, one thing that helped with like navigating the three-dimensionality of the world was the charmed compass, which is that tracking feature where you hit up on the D-pad and a little like gold streak shows you exactly where to go. Because even though there's a mini map on the left-hand side of your screen that tells you where your quest, location is, when you're in a multi-level castle, that's not very helpful. Because the mini map doesn't account for that three-dimensionality. But if you're lost, you just hit the little up button and it tells you exactly where to go. And that was just so helpful for me, because like at this point I have gone through every corner of the Hogwarts castle a million times. I still don't know where anything is without the map. Like even though I recognize locations, like, oh yeah, now I'm in the place with the big wooden staircase. Oh yeah, now this is definitely the astronomy tower. I don't know how I got there.
Do you remember when Starfield didn't have maps for any of the city locations?
Oh my God, yeah. Why would you do that? Like, that's insane to me. And I know that there are people like you who, oh yeah, I can navigate this space that I've never been in. Oh yeah, I know that I was just over there and now I know to go over here. I just don't have that skill.
Right.
Figured out.
It's a spatial thing as well, but a lot of it is the muscle memory that you develop over time. And I think the compliment you're paying to Portkey Games is a ground floor decision that had to be one of the first design challenges that they tackled in putting this story together and this game together. Because this doesn't feel like a Harry Potter game for people who like open world, third person character action RPGs. This feels like a game for people who like Harry Potter. And that is massive,
it's very
hundreds
different.
of millions of people across the world, which also, I think that sort of the second order consequence of that decision is that for 1 billion people, because those are basically the numbers. I don't know if you pulled the numbers for how well the game sold.
I didn't. Very well.
This is, no, that doesn't do it even close to justice. This was the best-selling game of last year. And it was the first time that any game that wasn't Call of Duty or Pokemon or Grand Theft Auto, any of those like monolithic heads of the industry, has been the top selling game of the year. It's the first time that it's broken that winning streak in, I think it's one of two in the last 20 years.
Wow. Okay, yeah. So this says in the first 2 weeks, it sold 12 million copies. And for over the course of 2023, it sold 24 million copies.
That's insane.
It's so many.
Those numbers, I mean, those are unreal numbers.
But right, so you have to make it work for all those different kinds of people.
But that means that for a good portion of those people, this is their first game.
Right.
Not third-person action character ranged melee, but
first game.
First game. And I think this is about as close as you can get to be the perfect first game.
Yeah.
Because it is so welcoming.
Right.
And it is so approachable. And watching you play this, I was worried about sort of the gulf between what this game might expect from a player and your experience. Because I hit those roadblocks still sometimes in games.
Yeah.
But this one was so perfectly tailored for that experience where it felt seamless. It didn't feel condescending.
Right. It
felt
didn't.
Incredibly excited and welcoming.
Right. And all of those like features, like you don't have to use them. Like the charmed compass is an option that you like, if you want to keep using it, you have to like kind of keep hitting it to remind yourself where to go. But if you're somebody like Cam or somebody who doesn't want their hand held, who wants to just find things on your own, then you don't have to use it. Like it doesn't have to be there. It's just there if you need it. And things like, and there are like, of course, basic toggleable features like inverting the X and Y both for the camera and for flying. That's really helpful for me. I think I often have to inverse it. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. Being able to slow down the camera sensitivity, that was huge for me because I just get seasick in these games really easily. And so like the fact that the camera moves a little bit slower when you're aiming, when you're moving, and even the cursor moves slower, that was easier for me. And I am so glad I was able to adjust that. The default is that you automatically lock on to enemies during combat, but you can turn that off if you don't want to do that. I like it because then I just have to look at them and then I hit them, and that is helpful for me, but you don't have to have that. You can adjust how loud the music is compared to the sound effects, compared to the dialogue. That's all really helpful. So I liked like having all of those basic things, and there are tons and tons and tons of those features. If you want to like dive into a settings menu of this game, there are lots of things you can adjust.
It just has the right perspective I feel like Portkey Games had the right perspective in making a Harry Potter game, because the thrill of the fantasy of being a wizard is not aiming.
Right.
The thrill is picking
casting
a
the
spell,
spell
and casting the spell.
Yeah, it's not, I can't wait to aim. It's like, I'm not playing a sniper game. I'm here to be a wizard.
To make another comparison, Red Dead. You're playing as a cowboy, which means you want to be the coolest cowboy. You want to be Wyatt Earp. You want to be Kurt Russell in Tombstone. So there's a feature called Deadeye, where every time you aim, it locks on and tracks whoever you are, and then you can move the stick a little to like line up a headshot, but it's moving along like a stuck path of their body.
Cool.
So the aiming is done and it works in universe, because it's like, well, of course I'm the best cowboy.
I'm a great cowboy. Exactly.
And then there's another feature where it like the screen goes sepia and it slows down, and you can line up all of these shots, and then it cuts back to real time, and you, as the perfect sharpshooter, you knock out a whole group of enemies. Like, it's that. There's nothing wrong with that. If anything, that makes me enjoy the game more, and it heightens the role playing.
Well,
it heightens my immersion in that character, and I love that Hogwarts did that for the wizard character.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's not just about making the game, quote, easier. It's about making it's like succeeding in what the game is trying to do. What the game should be aiming to do is making me feel like a cool wizard who's like at this wizarding school and is like solving these mysteries. And that is what all of these features allow me to do and feel. Even like the arachnophobia mode, that was huge. So that was something that came out later in a patch, which is too bad because I played the entire game without arachnophobia mode. And there are a surprising number of giant scary spiders in this game. And if y'all don't know, I am absolutely 1,000% terrified of spiders.
There's one Aragog-sized acromantula.
Oh God!
I think I found that one before you did.
You did.
That was a fun day.
So that was actually, I really hated that. But once they added the arachnophobia mode, the spiders just become like little legless, smooth, like they look like little balls, like little like wooden toys.
Satisfying to kill though.
Yes, right. And the difficulty doesn't change. Like the amount at which they're attacking you does not change. They are still spiders. You still collect spider fangs and venom from them, but they do not look like big scary spiders anymore. And that was really great because again, that like made me not want to play parts of the game. Like my first playthrough, I really didn't like going in the Forbidden Forest because I knew there were always spiders in there and that kind of sucked.
It's canon.
Right. But like, you know, so like I liked that they added that. Even like the quests, like there were like the simplicity of like the menu itself, it was really easy to navigate and it made sense what was where. It also just looked awesome. And then when you go into your quest section, you've got your whole list on the side, like a little checklist, and it's very easy to tell what you haven't done and what you have done. It's very easy to tell what the next step is. And the best part is that you can like click on the quest to track it, and then you can hit Y to locate on the map directly from the quest menu. I don't know if that's unique, but it feels unique to me and I've never experienced that. And that's really great versus being like, okay, I'm supposed to find this guy in this one village. Okay. And then you immediately go to your map and you're like, wait, fuck, what was the village? Like you just like, it's just so simple and seamless. And it was not clunky at all. And I really liked that. And then of course, you know, on the bottom left, if you're tracking a quest, right there it says this is what your next step is supposed to be. Like find this person, do this thing, and it's tracking it on the mini map for you. And then you can hit up on the D-pad and it tells you where to go. Like it's just so smooth and simple. I never felt like I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now.
During the God of War episode, you asked about, we discussed the difference between the main quest and the side quest, and in terms of engagement and level of story and relevance to the main plot and developing the characters. And spoiler alert, we thought it was all fantastic in God of War, but
Yep.
What did you think of the side content? Not just the collectibles and those different activities,
right,
but those little
actual
side questy
quests,
things.
the
What do you
little
think
gray
of those here?
things. Yeah, they were great. Like some of them were more high stakes than others. Like all of your side quests with like Sebastian are like very high stakes, and that's advancing a whole other like side plot that ends up becoming kind of essential to the main plot. And I love the way that developed over time. That was awesome.
Those
I
are
love
main
Sebastian.
quest plots that aren't called main quest
Right,
plots.
yeah. Also, I love that your character has so much sexual tension with Sebastian. It's so funny to me. It always cracks me up.
Wait,
but
what was that house elf? Remember that side quest chain with the house elf who was then eaten
by the spiders.
Yes.
Tobbs.
Tobbs.
Justice for Tobbs.
No, but seriously, that was a full side quest chain with an incredibly engaging story through multiple locations,
right.
spread
and
across, kind of breadcrumbed across the main quest.
Right, and making a point about house elves and injustices among them, which again is canonical in the Harry Potter universe. That was really great. But then sometimes it'd be find this girl's gobstones, and but that was also fun because that's the joy of the Harry Potter universe, is that it's that mix of high and low stakes. It's the high stakes of saving the wizarding world mixed with I'm gonna fail my charms test. I liked that it had that mix because it helped that world feel so true and real, and that was really, really fun. And again, you didn't have to do all the side quests. Some of them, if you didn't feel like exploring that place or going to fight the spiders for the guy you met on the road, then you don't have to. But it also, I think it tell you what your reward is going to be if you do it.
I think in general, maybe not specifically.
You get a sense of what you're going to get for it, and so that's also really helpful. It's not worth it for me.
Did you ever play this as a podcast game?
A little bit. Once I had played the whole story, yes, I did. After I done my first playthrough, I did my first playthrough locked in, really fully headphones on, listening to every piece of dialogue, fully paying attention, because I wanted to. It felt so natural. And then once I had beat the main thing and was doing extra side content, or it wasn't even I would listen to a podcast while I was doing it. It was more usually first thing in the morning when I'm having my coffee, I like to do a pretty low stakes activity, reading a book or playing Stardew Valley or something. Sometimes I would just do some side quests in Hogwarts Legacy, very casually, sound off because I didn't want to wake you up, that kind of thing.
Was it still engaging?
Oh yes, absolutely. Okay. It works both those ways really, really beautifully. And yeah, and apart from the quest and it telling you where to go, there's just so much prompting throughout the whole game. In combat, it always tells you when to cast Y to do Protego and to Stupefy. It always tells you when your ancient magic is ready, and it tells you which buttons to press.
Always feels cool.
It just,
ancient magic feels good.
It does. It's so good, and it's rare enough that it feels special when it happens, but it's not so rare that you feel why do I even have this ability? It's not just the game has a little tutorial stage at the beginning and then leaves you out in the dust. It prompts you throughout the entire game, and it was very, very rare that I felt lost or I forgot how to do something. It was pretty impressive the way I was able to carry that through the entire game. And again, early on I was able to take my time and have fun and truly play in the game, even outside of the main quests, and it was that the whole way through. I never got tired of exploring the castle or exploring the world outside of Hogwarts.
I felt I almost, maybe more than in other open world RPGs that I've played, I felt I almost couldn't get bored, because whatever I was in the mood to do, there was something there to do. If I wanted to just find the little tokens for my house, the little Gryffindor tokens, I could go do that. If I wanted to just knock out some field guide pages and learn bits of lore about this world that I care about, I could do that.
Right.
If I wanted to wander a location, there would always be something I would find. If I just wanted puzzles, there was always an interesting...
There's always a puzzle.
Whether it's the Merlin trials, these environmental puzzles.
Yeah. The Merlin trials were so fun.
If I just wanted combat, there were a bunch of options.
You could always go find a poacher camp or find a group of spiders to fight.
If I just wanted to fly, if I wanted to meet people and do side quests, if I just wanted to bop around locations I recognized and interact with different objects. If you love this world, it's almost boundless.
I was gonna say, I don't think you can truly 100% this game. You can do every side quest, you can solve every puzzle, find every Daedalian key token, find every demiguise, unlock every lock there is. Even if you do all that, there's still stuff to do. You can go pet all the cats in Hogsmeade. You can
collect all the animals for your menagerie.
Right. Or spin all the globes in every corner of the castle. Or just fly around the villages, talk to NPCs, go to every vendor, buy more stuff. You will not run out of things to do. I think the biggest compliment I can pay to this game is when at Christmas, we went to my parents' house for Christmas, and I was thinking about, what always happens on Christmas Day is we do our presents, we have we always do a big Christmas breakfast, and then we're what do we do now? You know, when you're a kid, it's like play with your new toys. When you're an adult, you're like, what do we do now? Play with my new sweater? Like, what do I do? And so I was thinking about how like that's like a nice lazy day. What could we all do together, like my parents and my sister? And so I brought over our Xbox and I booted up Hogwarts Legacy to show my parents. My mom's a big Harry Potter fan. My dad is too, but my mom is a Harry Potter fan, and so is my sister. And my parents don't own any gaming consoles. My mom has played, you know, original Nintendo, and like that's it, right? I pulled up this game and like showed her around it, and I like gave her the controller, and she was just like bopping around the Slytherin common room because my character was a Slytherin. It was really great. My first playthrough, I was like the homework kid, and I was Ravenclaw, and I did all the side quests, and I was like a nice person. My second playthrough, I was like, I'm gonna be a Slytherin, and I'm gonna be mean to everybody. It was really fun. But so my mom was just like playing around in the Slytherin common room, and you know, she's never interacted with a controller like this. Like it was very new to her, but she was having the most fun I have seen my mom have in a long time. And she was like so amazed at the amount of detail. Like all she did was like walk around maybe a grand total of like 20 square feet and like interacted with a fountain and a globe. And I think she maybe pet a cat and like looked at something on the wall. And like, I think she maybe cast Revelio. But she was having the time of her life. And like, that is truly how this game feels. It doesn't matter what your ability level is, what your experience level is. If you love this world, you are going to love this game.
It's so welcoming.
Yeah.
And it feels so magical in a way that I was so astonished. I mean, we talk about adaptations all the time, and I think the greatest compliment to the Harry Potter movies is that they capture the magic of the books.
Yeah.
Maybe not always perfectly, but that essence they
that
do
feeling.
capture.
Mm-hmm.
And even things that were more canon, I guess, like Cursed Child has more of a sign-off, or Fantastic Beasts has more of a creative team that was embedded. Like,
sure.
This Hogwarts Legacy game evokes that magic more strongly than things that have more of a connection to this series.
Yeah, it really, you're so right. Yeah, it was such a special gaming experience, and I'm still playing through my second playthrough just whenever I feel like it, whenever I want to dive into the world, and it's so easy to fall right back in, and it's just such a
or
fun
start a
time.
new character. And discover a new common room and have different friends.
I still haven't gone to the Hufflepuff common room. I haven't gone to the Gryffindor common room. I've only done Ravenclaw and Slytherin. And like, there's still like, you can do so many different things on a second playthrough.
You have totally different relationships with some of the side characters.
Absolutely.
If they're in your house, they're different, or they're your closer companions. You have a different relationship with some of the professors.
Right. And there are choices you can make throughout the game. Like, do I want to learn dark magic? Do I not want to learn dark magic? Like that's really interesting too. Like there's so many different ways to play this, and you can play it over and over and over.
And that is something I've noticed you love from games. You like replayability.
Yeah.
That's why Diablo's so good, because you have all those classes.
Right.
There are, I don't know, 4 different houses, and you can be a good guy or a bad guy. That's 8 different versions of the game.
And also, like, there's so much, like, I didn't talk about your character customizing. Like, you can look so many different ways and, you know, be so many different ways, and that's also really, really fun.
You can just hop on the hippogriff.
And just fly around and just have a good time.
Rock around the Forbidden Forest. It's so much fun.
And so what this has allowed for me, the way that this game sort of like trained me and like built up some of those muscles for me, those like gameplay muscles, in a way that felt inviting and welcoming and gentle and not like intimidating, has opened up so many possibilities for me as a gamer. That is the reason why I was able to even attempt God of War. That's also why I'm now playing Baldur's Gate 3, which is arguably the most complex and challenging game I've ever played in my entire life. And it is so much fun. But I would
Shout out Tristan.
Thank you to Tristan for recommending this game. I would not have even thought about Baldur's Gate if I had not played Hogwarts Legacy. And, you know, this has opened up so many games that to me have for so long felt like games I was never going to be able to play. Like, I'm really excited to try Assassin's Creed. I'm really excited to try Skyrim again. I tried Skyrim early on in my gaming journey, and it was too tough, and I just couldn't get the hang of it, and I didn't have fun, and it was open world, and I didn't know where to go, so I quit. But I want to try it again. I want to try The Witcher 3. I want to go to God of War Ragnarok. I want to even try like The Last of Us. Like, there's so many things that I
Weirdly, I think you'd enjoy Elden Ring.
I don't know. I don't think I would, Cam. That's
Tristan and I both
Dark
played
Souls
magic
and Elden
classes
Ring.
in that.
I just feel like, I don't know, maybe. I think I need to get a few other games under my belt before I attempt that. I kind of see, I think I like it as a concept. I think I'm going to get in there 10 minutes in and be like, I hate this.
I also think you'd like Hollow Knight. I don't know. I think some of those punishing games I think are...
I don't mind a punishing side-scroller because I can do a side-scroller. Like, I have no issue with that.
Sure.
It's the other ones I have a tough time with. But like, this has just been such a gateway for me in a way that no other game... I mean, the only other case I can make is Diablo 3. Like, that opened up a pretty big door for me early on. But this has been a really special experience, and I would not have been playing any of the things I'm playing or have even the remotest interest in playing the things I want to play without this game. And I'm just so happy about it.
Yeah, it's been so fun to watch. These just broad and welcoming fantasy RPGs and seeing how they speak to you. I'm very excited to see what's next. And maybe that's a question to throw to the audience. Based on your experiences and the games that have spoken to you, what other games would you recommend for Maggie? I know I've recommended 1,000 games for Maggie, but
you sure have.
It's always it's more fun as a dialogue. So
yes.
Whether it's the comments on YouTube or over on Patreon, or you can email us, all that is in the bio. Those recommendations, your experiences with this game, are you a book reader? Are you a movie lover? What was your favorite part of this franchise that you found in this rendition?
Yeah, is there a cool like Easter egg or puzzle or hidden thing that maybe I may not know about that I should check out in this game? Because I've said, there's no way I've discovered everything in this game. Tell us about that. Also, if you want more game episodes from us, we recently did an episode about God of War. We've also done episodes mostly focused on Cam's playing experience, but we did episodes about the original Halo. I don't know what's out and what isn't, but Halo, Fallout 3,
Starfield,
Star Wars, Jedi Survivor. Thank you. And we have a
bunch of Diablo 4.
Did a whole series about Diablo 4. Yeah, Path of Exile. That's right. Diablo 3. All kinds of things. So give those things a look. A Baldur's Gate 3 episode is coming. I'm only in Act 2 of that game. Like you know, it's a huge game. So I want to wait till I've played it a bit more to talk about it. But we will talk about Baldur's Gate 3 because the game is so much fun.
There's also some game discussion in our end of the year Brecky's conversations where we do our little award shows, because I think you'll find that was right around this past Brecky's. I talked a lot about God of War.
Yeah, and I talked a lot about Hogwarts Legacy because I think it was my number one for the whole year. So there is that.
But if you want even more episodes from us, there is the bonus collection over on Patreon, where $2 a month you can support the show and get a brand new episode every month, sometimes more than one episode, and you can get access to the entire back catalog of more than 20 bonus episodes that we've put together over the past 2 years.
Yes. And we also, if you want more fantasy content, we talk about fantasy every Friday. We are reading through the A Song of Ice and Fire series right now, but we've also done a whole series on the Witcher books, as well as Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So,
and we did 2 general Harry Potter discussions. One of them was about Michael Gambon's Dumbledore portrayal. And the other one was sort of a theory episode about Harry and Aragog as surrogate sons to Hagrid.
We also did one a while back about growing up with Harry Potter.
Great point.
And of course, we did episodes about the Fantastic Beasts movies, which we mentioned earlier. So all kinds of stuff to dig into if you want more stuff like this. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm so glad I finally got to talk about this amazing game.
Thank you, Maggie. I think you did a wonderful job putting this together. I know this one was hanging over you for a year that you were putting it together.
Because I wanted to make sure I did it right, and I think I hope I did it okay.
I think you have.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening /watching. We'll see you on Friday.